The story starts off in a dungeon, where our protagonist, Gran, was dismantling the monster corpse, when the leader of their party alerted him one slipped past him and headed Gran's way. Gran quickly stored the items with storage magic, then held his sword while activating body reinforcement effect. He focused his eyes sharp, keeping notice of the monster's movements and dodged its incoming attacks, then followed up with side stabs on the monster's torso. The lizard monster took a critical hit, after which Gran tore through its skin and spilled the insides to outside, finishing it off with ease. Gran was pretty skilled in combat, and he recalls this part of the dungeon is swarming with a large number of monsters. In the party he's currently working at, he's hired by them temporarily to fill a vacancy as a porter. Although, even though they hired him as a porter, Gran is the kind, you could say a jack of all trades, and the party leader asked him to help with retrieval once they were done fighting monsters here. Gran nicely returns to his porter work and recalls the basic thing about dungeons, that these places are spaces formed by the materialization of high-density magic, and thus it produces monsters from time to time. Gran's job is to extract and collect any useful materials. One of the newbies on the party thought Gran is basically more of a B-rank adventurer than a porter for them. Then their leader explained that Gran is super useful, because he's not only a skilled combatant but also helpful in carrying luggage. So, by hiring him, they lessen up a lot of workload and are able to move around the dungeon more efficiently. Gran recalls a porter is an adventurer who carries luggage, and even though he's average in combat skills, he doesn't need to fight most of the time since his party members are just too strong. Then the newbie called out Gran, saying, "Don't he just retrieve items all the time?" And Gran didn't deny that, which makes the newbie think he's just a freeloader. But the party leader stood up for Gran, saying Gran's real strength is that he can collect materials almost without fail, even in a chaotic battle where one has to be hasty and keep moving. And even if he were to face a salamander, Gran would just calmly deal with it himself, drink a potion, and recover like nothing happened. Even in a high-ranked monster hunting ground, they don't have to worry about Gran, which is the biggest plus point they don't get with any other porter. Thus, hiring Gran was more profitable and comfortable, and Gran had one more beneficial quality unlike others. When they took a break to have meals, a girl from the party asked Gran if the dinner's ready yet. Gran replied it'll be ready in a bit, and she wanted to have a dish made with the salamander meat from earlier. Gran replied it's not properly bled out yet, so he prepared another meat dish instead. The other girl expressed her interest in wanting the meat as well, and also a sweet dish if possible. Gran then brought out a table to serve dinner to everyone out of his magic storage, seeing which everyone was excited, witnessing Gran's magic bag in action. Gran doesn't really have any magic bag, it's just his storage skill, which he hides by pretending to be using a magic bag. He was asked by someone who cares for him to keep his skills secret, or bad guys will come to notice him and cause trouble. Gran now proceeded to finish cooking the dish, adding proper ratios of sautéed onions and minced meat. In the end, he also added some milk and eggs to prepare some side dishes, while others set the plates on the table. Gran keep in mind the kind of taste adventurers will love, since they are normally tired of the dried foods due to availability on the exploration. The newbie at the party was amazed Gran even got tables and plates on the go, which means they can get a fancy meal despite being inside a dungeon. The newbie thought this was normal for A-rank party, but the party leader corrected it only because they have Gran in their party right now. Gran is an awesome chef, and he takes cooking seriously, so he carries all the ingredients and utensils with him through storage skill. Gran himself doesn't like settling down with normal or bad food, so he prepares best for himself and also for those around him. When the dinner was ready, he served it to everyone, telling them to eat as much as they'd like. The aroma of the grilled meat was so delicious, they couldn't stop themselves from eating it right away, and everybody surely liked it a lot. They enjoyed the food so much that the newbie remarked that this food tastes even better than his usual restaurant. Party leader stated this is usual whenever they have Gran with them, but the newbie made it clear he's not the type to get swayed by something like food, although admitting he's grateful for delicious food. Right then, Gran brought out a dessert for everyone, and after tasting it, even the newbie seems to have changed his mind and ate it rapidly. Gran thinks his role as a B-rank adventurer is pretty convenient after all, since he can handle pretty much everything. Later on, at the Adventurers Guild, the newbie apologized to Gran for being rude to him earlier and thanked him for the food. He wanted to become a B-rank soon just like Gran, and Gran told him not to overdo himself and trust the process. After that, the newbie left, and the party leader figures that guy has gotten attached to Gran after eating his cooking. Then the leader asked Gran if he would like to join their party officially, promising great rewards and backing along with a good track record. But Gran turned down the offer, and the leader kind of expected it. He expressed his wish to sometime go into the dungeon for several months with Gran, but Gran didn't like the idea, even though he wanted some good sleep every now and then, on a comfortable bed and a good bath. Leader figures in that case he'll invite Gran for their next short adventure, which Gran doesn't mind and bid them farewell. Gran don't dislike being in a party or cooperating with others, and it is appealing sometimes to just join a party and have great rewards and guarantee a satisfying life. But deep down, he feels sort of empty in that kind of life. Mainly because he can't increase his skills anymore, then B rank. It makes him feel like he's not suited for it, and maybe it's time to quit. As he walks around the city, he comes across an advertisement saying residents want a village, and in return they will get cheap housing. Gran decided it's about time. So on a whim, he left the royal capital to leave for a village in the countryside to start off a slow life there. The big reason for this decision is because he was a jack of all trades back in the royal capital, but he didn't think he was good enough at either thing. Eventually, he got himself a house located in the forest near a village, where he started his life following his hobbies. And here, he could also use his skills without worrying about others watching. He opened his status to get a look at all the skills at once, to figure out his plan for the future here in this new place. Gran recalled that in past life, he used to be an office employee, living a normal day-to-day life with not much to look forward to. His hobby was to live an ordinary life outside work, playing games and reading books in free time. It was a pretty peaceful life, and eventually, he came across a game where the players had to do wholesome things like farming and raising their character in countless possible ways. Even though he took it slow, he eventually managed to peak his stats while enjoying the game. Although he doesn't remember how he died in his previous life, he still has faint memories of how he lived and leveled up in the game. And when he turned 5 in this world, his memories of past life flooded into his brain, and he was able to check out his status with more than average stats, skills, and talents. What stood out more than anything was the hero title in his status, which made him think he was supposed to be a hero destined to defeat the Demon Lord. And he might even have to set out on a journey to the royal castle by fate. The possibility of a great adventure thrilled him even more. And as far as he can remember, he was always surrounded and loved by people, and also got praised a lot for being able to learn things fast. He's been aware he was always a fast learner even in his past life, and now his current life made him more sure that he was some sort of protagonist of a story. However, he hadn't realized by then what exactly the skill, jack of all trades, meant. As time passed, he learned to hunt down monsters with other villagers, which was a big jump from his usual life as a child, just like other children in the village. He came to realize that whatever weapon he used, some skill related to that weapon would always be triggered, even though he didn't have those skills beforehand in the stats. Thanks to this, he was able to hunt down much more smoothly than other kids, but once his skills reached a certain level, it became extremely difficult for him to improve further. And what's more, he couldn't use magic at all despite having mana. Gran saw other kids use magic and improve over time, while he could only watch them. He checked his status, and it did mention mana he got, which was actually above average, yet he couldn't use magic. Watching the other children learn to use magic spells made him feel a little envious and left out. And by the time he turned 10, his abilities were only a little above average. He settled at a level inferior to those who could master their speciality. Overcome by an indescribable sense of failure, he stopped caring about being a hero, and eventually realized the world was kind of peaceful. There were monsters indeed, but it only felt natural, and he never came across any news of dangerous demon lords either. He has heard of a nation of demi-humans far from here, and the ruler of that nation is sometimes called the Demon King, but he never heard of any invasions or wars engaged by that nation. If anything, they like to trade actively and peacefully, which made Gran think there's no need for a hero in a world like this. And before he knew it, it stopped mattering to him. When he became an adult at the age of 12, he set out on his own to register as an adventurer, since he lost interest in this whole adventuring thing and wanted to find meaning to his life. He also had exploration and appraisal skills which helped him a lot in researching and analyzing the places and objects he came across. And the most helpful one was storage skill. He could store any non-living thing inside the storage, and firstly, he couldn't store much in the storage, but as his skill leveled up, he was able to store more than enough of anything. And ever since he learned to use his skills, he spent most of his time relentlessly hunting monsters, training, and gathering as many materials as he could. Instead of being a hero, he found pleasure in this wholesome life, where he was able to travel around various places, hunt monsters whenever he'd like, and gather new materials and ingredients on the way. He wandered into uncharted lands sometimes, and all this thrill slowly filled the hole in his heart, and he enjoyed living like this, hoarding so many items which could be used to make a lot of stuff. All of this was healing his empty heart, and now in the present, he used the materials to make his dream house out in the forest, and also bought the property by selling some of them. In his new home, he decided to take his wholesome life to another level with this jack-of-all-trades skill. And whatever he does, it's convenient for him as he could do anything from hunting, cooking, and crafting items with ease. Later in the nearby town, he also met up with a girl named Kirch, who showed him around the town and the bazaar, showing him the best places to buy materials, ingredients, and much more. Gran was thankful he found someone as helpful as Kirch, and after looking around for a while, he asked Kirch if it's okay for her to leave the shop unattended today. She replied it's fine, since there aren't many customers for her shop around this time of the day, and moreover, her sister is handling the shop right now. Besides, looking around the market is part of her job. Gran's eyes then noticed something in a shop, and the shopkeeper asked if he wanted something from a land far away from here. Gran asked the man, "Where is this wooden item from?" The guy replied it's from a country far to the east, but he only bought it in a port town of a neighboring country. So, he doesn't know what exactly it is, although he has sold a few of these unusual items before. Gran recognized this item as an abacus, and the merchant asked him if he knew what it was. Gran replied he just happened to have read about it in a book, and the merchant mentioned he thought this item was some sort of musical instrument, but that didn't turn out to be the case. Thus, he will sell this item to him on a discount. Gran decided to buy it, then asked the merchant if the black liquid in the bottle was also from the East. The merchant nodded. That's right, and it's leftover stuff, so he'll sell it on a discount. Merchants know only this much, that it's some sort of seasoning made from beans, but it smells and doesn't sell much. Gran wanted to take a sniff, and after he smelled the liquid, he decided to buy it and asked the merchant if he got more of them. Merchant replied that's all he got, which was a bummer, since Gran really wanted a lot of it. Then, he asked the merchant if he could get more of this black liquid from the East. The merchant replied, Gran could get it himself from a port town called Obero, and the merchant just happened to run into some guy from the East earlier whom he bought these items from. Gran asked if the merchant got any grain from the East, something which looks like wheat but isn't actually wheat. The merchant didn't get any, and apparently he got some liquor from the East. Gran immediately asked if it's a clear liquor with a transparent color and strong smell. The merchant agreed he's right, but it's a bit pricey. Gran agreed to buy it as well, after which the merchant added a freebie, which turned out to be some sort of seeds he got from that Eastern merchant. Gran took the seeds, then appraised the items he got, which were actually soy sauce and sake, that's commonly used in Japan. It's a shame he couldn't find any rice, but he's certain now that rice must also exist in this world. Gran feels nostalgia, as sometimes he comes across things that remind him of his previous world, and he figures there must be others who might have reincarnated from the same world. For today, he thinks it should be enough to know that Eastern items are similar to his previous world, which makes him want to visit there once. He was eager to meet someone who also has memories from Japan. Just then, Kirch called him out and asked him if he could share what he had bought earlier. Gran thought about it. While she mentioned she has never seen them before and is curious about them, Gran explained the abacus is used for faster calculations, and she found it hard to think they could calculate with it. Gran stated it's a pretty handy tool for big calculations, and he might teach her how to use it later. Moreover, he can also show it to a craftsman to have it made, or he could just try making one himself later. The more Kirch stays around him, the more she learns about Gran, and she starts to believe there's nothing he can't do. She was excited to learn this abacus tool since she's also a merchant and has to deal with calculations. Gran started off with explaining another soy sauce, made from seasoning beans, and alcohol here is made from rice. And even though it might look weird, it's actually delicious. Kirch thought Gran knows a lot for sure, maybe because he's an adventurer. And when she thinks about it, she kind of feels jealous that he has been to many different places, while she's here stuck to just roaming around nearby towns to stock the shop. Someday, she would love to visit a distant town as a merchant and see all sorts of things out there. Gran offered to be her escort when that time comes, and she felt shy thinking it'd be like being carried by a prince. Gran assured her he's strong, so he'll surely protect her well. She nervously accepted the offer, then told him to look over in another direction, saying, "There's an interesting stall." She continued showing him around the rest of the town, eventually trying some grilled meat from the bazaar. They were having the most out of their outing. Then Gran showed something he got from the place they bought skewers from. Kirch told him it's a lottery ticket, and she got one as well when she ate a while ago. They decided to try their luck in the lottery after eating, and Kirch mentioned Gran kinda eats a lot. Gran claimed it's normal since he's an adventurer, and his body is his livelihood. She was envious. He must get to eat a lot of things with all sorts of tastes. Then Gran offered her to try some later. She was full for now, so they postponed it for now, while Gran was getting along well with cheerful Kirch, who was also happy to meet Gran. After a while, both of them returned to Kirch's home, and it seems Gran had brought something heavy along. He asked Kirch where he should put it, to which she replied it'll be better to place something this huge and space-taking in the backyard. Alicia, Kirch's sister, heard their voice and went to welcome them back, but she was surprised by the large animal carried by Gran, while Kirch and Gran were casual about bringing something like that. It took Alicia some time to process what's before her eyes. Then Gran explained that Kirch won a lottery and got this black buffalo as a prize. Kirch praised Gran for being able to carry something that heavy so easily. Gran replied, "It's nothing. He's just using a body enhancement skill." Kirch mentioned that in a countryside place like this, Piamon, there are hardly any people who could lift a black buffalo alone. Alicia also confirmed that's the case. Then Kirch guided him to the backyard spot to place this black buffalo. After taking it there, Gran started dismantling it himself, and Kirch was impressed by his clean dismantling skills. Gran took out different parts separately, like tongues, bones, and tails, which caught Kirch's eye, and she asked if they were also usable. He replied tongues have a unique chewiness, the tail could be used to make a soup, and the bones make a great soup base as well. Kirch remarked, Gran knows about cooking a lot for sure, which he thinks is obvious, since they have to eat whatever they can while adventuring. Now, after he finished dismantling, Kirch thought it'd be a pain to store this much, and they needed to eat or sell it before it spoils. Gran suggested they could keep it good for longer by smoking it, or just make jerky out of it. Kirch then asked if he'd like to have dinner at their place today, since they got plenty of meat, and also stay the night if possible. Gran decided to take up the offer, and thus it was planned to cook steak for dinner today. She asked him to cut the best parts for the steak, but then Gran got an idea to use those Eastern items he bought today as seasoning, and asked Kirch to let him use the kitchen. She took Gran to the kitchen, while he thinks it might be out of habit from previous life, but he's always been particular about food. And now that he has finally gotten his hand on some nostalgic seasoning and meat, he will help himself to make the best out of it. He started cooking the meat of black buffalo, and the process was kinda similar but still different and a bit unique in its own way. He added the special seasonings which gave off an aroma so good, Kirch wanted to try it right away. He asked her to hold on a bit longer, then took out the prepared spice, then added more of the meat this time for another dish. Once he thought the prep was done, he added some salt and fried the meat over a pan. Alicia also came after following the good smell, and he told her to wait and he'll be done soon. Alicia decided to set the plates and bowls for them meanwhile, and Kirch also lent a hand to her. Gran was almost done. And lastly, he mixed in the spices he made earlier into the steak and stirred it well over the pan for a while. Once the steak was done, he served those two first, thanking them for the wait. Once they took a bite from the steak, both of them were moved by the delicious and new kind of steak they tasted, and Kirch can't help but praise the aroma. Alicia didn't realize black buffalo meat could be this tender and tasty, but that's just because our guy was the one to cook it, and he was glad everyone liked the dish made from soy sauce. Kirch asked him if it's really made with that black liquid from earlier. He replied indeed. And that soy sauce, once heated, turns into an amazingly appetizing aroma and mixes great with garlic. He told them soy sauce is a great seasoning, which goes with pretty much everything. And since it's sold off far from here, they can hardly get their hands on it. Kirch asked if he could make it himself if he knew the ingredients. But Gran didn't have a way around it since he's missing the most important thing, soy seeds. Kirch thinks if they start circulating this soy sauce here, it could cause a revolution in cooking. And maybe she should ask her merchant friends or commerce guild to try and search for it. Gran stated he already tried searching for it in the royal capital, but couldn't find it at all. Maybe today it was pure luck that they came across it, and the only place they can maybe get it is far from here in the east. And if they think of the edge of their kingdom of Shillendor, which would take at least a month of travel to reach, Gran can't help but feel hassle from how long it could take to reach the Obro town they don't know on the map yet. Maybe he could get some help from a person he knows who could use teleportation magic. But on another thought, he can't really invite that guy for some reasons. For a while, he wants to take it easy since he bought a house to live a slow life for some time. They had a delicious dinner, and later on, he taught Kirch a bit about abacus. Although the knowledge he shared was a bit too much for both Alicia and Kirch to get at once. Then he took a bath before bed and the next day set out after having breakfast. He figured the next time they see each other would be when he'll come to deliver the potions, and Alicia and Kirch looked forward to seeing him again. As Gran walked away, he thought he should try making an abacus, and also a ring with the effect of lightening the luggage and a little more effects if possible. While Gran was on the way back home, he collected any materials he thought would be useful, and he now had enough materials to make enough potions to supply the shop. He didn't want to be excessive, since he needed to be respectful to the forest while collecting resources. Gran recalls how great it was for him to meet Kirch, and now that he thinks back on how he met her, it was right after he arrived in this town. He traveled for a long time to arrive at this town of Piamon, which was a rural town with a good amount of people traveling every now and then through here. And since monsters inhabit the forest nearby, this town also has an adventurers guild. There's also merchant guilds, inns, and overall it's a pretty lively town. Kirch tried some food places first when he arrived here, and he had to say, even this world has its fair share of tasty cuisines. He enjoyed himself at the meal, and afterwards, he headed to the Adventurers Guild here in Piamon. He walked into the branch and the receptionist noticed him arriving like a newbie. But when he told her that he wanted to change his base of operations to this branch, she was a little startled, especially after he showed his adventurer's card to her. The fact that he was a B-rank adventurer caught a lot of attention, and he told her the reason to move is because he'd be living in this town for a while. She warmly welcomed a B-rank adventurer like him, and he told her beforehand not to expect much from him, since he doesn't plan on taking any requests or work for a while. She was a bit disappointed to hear that, and mentioned it'd be really helpful if he could take some C to B rank quests sometime. Gran assured he would do that once his life here settles down a bit, and decided to leave right away, while the receptionist wanted him to stay for a bit longer until he changes his mind. Gran observed the quests on the board for a bit, and they didn't look to be anything difficult. Next, he went to the Commerce Guild to tell the receptionist there that he would like to change his base of operations here as well. Gran recalled that an adventurer's rank is based on their skills and achievements, and a merchant's rank is based on the fee they pay to the Merchant Guild. He wanted to set up a stall in the bazaar, so he figured the lowest rank E should be enough for the Merchant Guild. He saw a notice for those who wanted to set up a stall at the next festival and went to the desk to apply for it right away. Once the important tasks are taken care of, all that's left is to buy supplies. It took him a while, and after he was done with all those tasks, including buying vegetable seeds, he wanted to head to his new home and plant them right away. But then he heard a loud noise from behind him in the forest. Gran turned around and figured some big monsters might be fighting, so he decided to check in since it's pretty close to the road. He made his way to the chaos and found out a snake and boar monster were fighting in the wild. These monsters were called a rock python and great boar, and he figured they would serve as good materials for him. Thus, he locked in to hunt down both of them right here. Gran activated his physical enhancement skill and jumped from the spot, reaching over the top of both of those creatures. Once he locked in his target, he swung his blade and killed the rock python in one go by slicing its neck like butter. Gran was definitely above average in skills thanks to Jack of all trades, and now only the boar monster was left. The monster charged at him, but it wasn't difficult to deal with at all for Gran, and he just finished it as well, just like the rock python. Gran sighed after finishing the job, then cleaned his blade before putting it in the sheath. After that, he used the storage skill to store the bodies of the dead monsters, after which he noticed there was a carriage fallen down beside the road. He understood that the poor guy must have gotten caught up in the monsters' fight. He noticed there wasn't anyone in the carriage, and hoped that guy would have managed to run away. Gran decided to look around for a bit, and eventually, he found a boy lying on the ground. He quickly treated the boy and carefully placed him back in the carriage, after which he also treated the injured horse with a potion, and requested if it could pull the carriage. Gran rode the carriage on the road and was on the way to take them back to the town. And in the midst of that, the boy woke up and screamed out of instinct, recalling what happened before. He was immediately worried about the merchandise he was carrying, and Gran assured him everything's fine. He asked Gran about the monsters, and Gran replied he had already dealt with them. And since he found the carriage and the boy lying around, he decided to take them back to Piamon town. He claimed to be just a passerby, but the boy knew it wasn't common for a person to be able to fight monsters like those. Gran claimed rock python and great boar weren't that strong of monsters. Then he asked the boy if he's fine with them heading to Piamon town. The boy replied he actually lives there, and he wanted to return the favor to our guy for saving him. Gran claimed it was nothing, and notified the boy was still a bit injured around the thigh. Gran gave her a healing potion and he consumed it, which healed the injuries in a bit. After that, Gran asked the boy if he could move. The boy agreed and apologized for letting him do so much for him. The boy, which Gran thought was a boy, then introduced himself as Kirch, and he claimed that he helped out at his parents' shop in Piamon. This was how both of them met for the first time, and after being saved by Gran, Kirch invited him to her shop so she could repay him the favor. Gran didn't mind at all with not being paid back, since he just made this potion with the herbs growing around his house. Kirch was amazed to hear Gran could make potions, and that too with just the herbs growing around his house at that. Gran nodded, and she immediately asked him to come to her shop for sure in that case, as she wanted to talk business with him right away, resulting in Gran heading to Kirch's house for the first time. On the way, they get to know more about each other, like Kirch turned out to be a merchant, and Gran was an adventurer. Kirch asked him if he would be staying at an inn. Gran replied he's actually bought a home in the nearby forest. Kirch got worried why the forest, where it's full of monsters and beasts. Gran didn't really mind since he got a monster-repelling fence, which makes the home feel like any other safe living area. Kirch asked if he also got potions ingredients from the forest. Gran nodded, then asked her what she meant by business talk earlier. Kirch stated that the old lady, who runs the apothecary in the town, is getting too old, so Kirch had to close her shop recently because they are short on potions. And actually, she was returning from the potion delivery, where she had to buy them from the neighboring town. It adds up on the transportation costs, due to which their prices increase and they can't supply many of them either. Gran asked if Kirch wants to source potions from him. She agreed, saying if he could do that, it'll be awesome. Gran thought about it and figured he could, depending on the conditions. Kirch told him they have arrived at the shop and her shop's name is Passero Shop. Kirch told her sister she had arrived, and her sister, Alicia, reminded Kirch she's late today. Kirch replied she actually ran into monsters on the road, which made Alicia worried, but Kirch assured her that she was helped by this adventurer here, named Gran, and she wanted to thank him, so she invited Gran to shop. Alicia thanked Gran for taking care of her little sister, and while Alicia's proportions were tempting, Gran was even more shocked to find out Kirch wasn't actually a boy, but a girl, since she was dressed like a boy. Kirch told him the reasoning, that it's dangerous for a woman alone out there, so she dresses more like a man when she goes on to stock up. Now, she asked Gran to wait inside while she unloads the goods, and she also asked Alicia to listen to a plan she got later. Gran wanted to help out with the unloading, since it's hard for a girl to unload things by herself. Gran actually wanted to avoid being alone with Alicia for clear reasons, and once they were done with unloading, they sat down and Alicia thanked him again for his help today. They feel indebted to him for saving Kirch, and as for reward, she asked him if she could do anything for him, like money or giving him something from the shop. Gran thought and mentioned he recently moved here, and also registered with the Commerce Guild because he wanted to start a business, but he hasn't decided what to sell yet. So he wanted a corner of their shop to use, to sell the products he will be making. He was ready to pay the rent, and even sell them potions they talked about earlier. Kirch was interested in this deal, and she believed they would be ones to benefit more here. Kirch requested him to sell potions in the bulk if possible, and Gran agreed to do just that, and also asked them if they could sell some other stuff he got as well. Kirch asked if that's really all he wanted, since she'd like to do more for him, but Gran was fine with it, since he wanted to start with a stall more than anything. Alicia then asked if he could make potions for real. Gran replied he could, up until high potions, which kinda comes out as a surprise because Alicia thought he was just an adventurer, not an apothecary. Gran showed her a potion and asked if she wanted it, so she could appraise it. Alicia got an appraisal skill, so she used it on the potions. And sure, all the potions Gran had were of high quality. Kirch commented they were even better than what the granny made, and even other towns' potions don't even come close to them. Both sisters wanted to make it an official deal that he will sell his potions to them, and Gran agreed, but he let them know he might not be able to mass-produce his potions of this same high quality. Kirch told him that since this area doesn't have many strong monsters nearby, Gran can just make regular normal potions instead of high potions, which will be more cost-effective, and he could sell a lot of antidotes as well for snake and insect venoms. Alicia asked Kirch to get the contract ready, and while Kirch was away, Alicia wanted to talk about the numbers and rates for everything with Gran. Gran didn't expect he would get this busy so soon, and after talking everything out with him, he went back home. Now, Gran is home and recalls that there is high demand for potions in this town, but since most cases aren't severe, he should use ingredients with moderate effects and cheaper on the pricing so they could meet the demands. After spending some time in the picking of the ingredients, cost-effective and good quality, he started the process of making potions. Since he also had a good appraisal skill, he could tell the qualities of the herbs and also knew the right ratios to mix thanks to his jack-of-all-trades. And to make sure the herbs are in just the right condition and timely aged, he could manually do it with the decomposition skill he got. Next, he put the mixture in the mortar and kept grinding it while pouring in a little magic until it became a paste. It's one of the things where he can use magic, since he can't use any magic spells. He can only pour magic into items he touches, and after making the paste, he simmered it for an hour and let it cool later, then divided it into small vials. The potion was ready, and he made sure with appraisal that they were ready, and the potion's quality was top-notch for normal potions. Next, he followed the same procedure to make another batch of them, and also made different kinds of potions and antidotes while he was at it. Once he was done with potions, he went to cook lunch with the meat he got earlier. He cut up the meat into small pieces, added salt, pepper, and thyme. And on the side, he made batter, with eggs, flour, and a little salt. And lastly, for a secret ingredient, he brought out the alcohol he got from the shop earlier. The drink was exactly what he needed to keep going, and then he mixed in some of it in the batter to make it crispier. Next, for a side dish, he took some potatoes and chopped them evenly, then soaked them in water. While preparing the oil, he drained the moisture from potatoes and coated the meat with flour, then added the batter and fried them in the oil for the final touches. The snacks were turning out to be great, and he can't wait to enjoy them with the drink. He fried a lot of them, and can't get enough of the thrill of cooking. Once it was almost time for everything to be finished, he served it all on a plate, and the lunch was ready. He took a bite out of the hot snacks, and they came out really delicious, with a mild, salty taste on the edge. The seasoning went really well with the meat, and the flesh was firm and satisfying to eat. He then dipped the potato in vinegar, and it gave off a really different but great taste as well. He then got an idea and went over to Kirch's house. She greeted him and he told her that the potion batch was ready, so he came here to deliver them. Kirch was amazed they were done already, even though he got the order just yesterday. He asked her to come inside, to check them out herself, and there he saw Alicia, already working on placing consignments in the store. She greeted Gran, and he told her about the potions delivery and placed the batches on the table. She was impressed by the amount of potions he's delivering right off the first order. It was fast enough to make her wonder if he had them in stock. Gran replied he had all the ingredients growing nearby his house, so he made this batch just yesterday. Alicia claimed it's a huge help, and confirmed they were all of good quality with appraisal. She mentioned this much stock will last for about a week, and Gran noted it and decided to bring the next batch next week. Now, she asked him to wait while she prepared the payment, and told Kirch to get the shop ready while she's away from desk for a bit. Gran then brought out the snacks he made earlier, and told Kirch to try them out while they're all fresh. She asked if he made these as well. Gran agreed, and asked her to give them a try and share how they are these. Kirch took a bite of the potato and she couldn't believe potatoes could be this tasty. In the meantime, Alicia brought the payment, and Gran asked her to give these snacks a try as well. She was curious about these snacks and after tasting them, remarked they were quite delicious. Gran mentioned the meat used in making these was rock pythons, which came out as a surprise, as they never tried tasting a snake before. Gran claimed he just tried it as an experiment, and they came out way tastier than he imagined in the end, so he brought them for Kirch to try. Also, he asked them if they have a larger pot, so he won't have to repeat the process of making potions many times. Kirch brought the pot and asked if that's good enough, and that way, Gran's slow life continued with new friends in an unfamiliar place. The next day, Gran was venturing into the deeper area of the forest, and he doesn't have any information about the deeper areas since even locals haven't gone there. All he knows for now is that monsters around here aren't all that strong, and mostly there are plant-type monsters deep into the forest. He was storing any useful thing he came across, and after exploring for a while, he found a lake located inside the forest. There, he saw a unicorn, which looks like a beautiful white horse with a horn, but unlike its peaceful look, it's a ferocious monster and charges at any person they see. Gran drew his blade and focused on the unicorn's approaching horn. At the right moment, he skipped sideways and swung his blade to cut down the unicorn's horn. And without that horn, a unicorn becomes just a white horse until its horn grows back. He thought this forest wouldn't have any string monsters, but a unicorn is kind of on the strong side. It's even stronger than those rock pythons and great boars. He collected the horn of a unicorn and planned on using it for making high-grade recovery potions and elixirs. And if needed, he can even craft items with special effects. Gran noticed the look was nice in this place, so he decided to enjoy it for a while before returning. He took out some ale and a burger he was carrying for a meal, but before he could eat it, he noticed a deer-like monster behind him. He was caught off guard by the monster, but thankfully, this one doesn't seem to be hostile towards him, although he was feeling inexperienced since this one got close without him noticing it, and he's having a hard time eating with that one staring at him like this. So he decided to give this hamburger to the white monster, and the white one just took it and ate it down in one go. Gran brought out another hamburger for himself, but the white one seemed to like the previous one so much that it wanted more. Gran told it there's no more, in which case, the monster raised its head and unexpectedly slammed its horns into the ground so hard that the horns broke off from its head. Gran was startled by that, and he asked if the white one would be all right with its horn broken. Gran offered a potion to the monster, but the monster refused to need it, and in the next few seconds, the monster's horns grew back, looking shinier and bigger than previous ones. Gran was amazed by this white one, and as he saw it leaving, he wondered if it was the guardian of this forest or something. He appraised the horn and learned the monster's name was Chamost, and its horns were of incredibly high quality, having many resistances and also strong purifying effects. Gran only intended for a short walk, but he ended up getting excellent materials one after another. He returned to home and started plowing the fields, in the time between making potions and delivering them to Kirch later. After working on the fields for a while, he sowed the seeds he got from the merchant earlier one by one. Once he was done, he was a little tired. But he had more work, like remodeling the storage shed, cutting some wood to craft things later, and also designing his kitchen a bit. This slow life felt more satisfying than he expected, and he also made a smoke kiln and planned to use the meat of a great boar to make prosciutto. He cut the meat and added proper salts and pepper before putting it in the storage to age them by 10 days. While the meat was in storage, he worked on preparing the wood for smoking with decomposed skill. Once enough time passed, he washed away the salts from the meat with water and then again used storage to dry off the water from it. Once the meat was ready, he put it in the smoker and left it to smoke for 5 hours. While the meat was smoking, he went over to make more meals for the dinner, so he brought out ingredients, also chopped the black buffalo tongue part, and soaked it in grated onion for 15 minutes. Afterwards, he put it all in boiling water, and once done, he sprinkled it with salt and pepper and let it absorb the flavors before putting it all in the pot to cook with other vegetables. The aroma given off by the meat was really amazing, and lastly he added tomatoes and some ale. While it was cooking, he worked on some more meat to cook another dish, cooking it with mushrooms and meat together, then put a lid on them. He let it simmer slowly over low heat, then took it all out once it was done. He waited for 5 hours and went to get the smoked meat, and to add a better taste, they are to be kept for a while. So he just aged the meat with storage, and was all done to finish up with the meal. Around the same time, the same Chamost from earlier arrived right behind him. And again, he was startled by it, because this time the Chamost not only walked through his monster-repelling barrier, but also the detection trigger and his senses. It confirmed his suspicion that Chamost was a pretty high-ranking monster after all. And this time, Chamost brought out a lot of herbs of all sorts with its own storage skill. They were all super rare herbs and all. And Gran was amazed Chamost was giving them to him. He understood Chamost wanted to be fed by him in exchange for these, in which case he decided to prepare the table for two now and asked Chamost to wait while he got the pots with dishes outside. He did the prayers before eating, and Chamost waited until he was done, before digging right into the delicious food. The Chamost started eating too quickly upon the tasty food, and within a few minutes finished the whole bowl. Gran gave the seconds and went back to enjoying his own meal, admitting it was truly delicious. And the meat, the vegetables, the flavors, and the aroma all are perfectly blended with each other. He thoroughly enjoyed his meal and noticed that even though he was sharing a meal with a monster, it felt good having someone here aside from him. After they finished the meal, he offered some wine to the white one, and also decided to make some snacks for them. He sliced off a thin layer of the meat, then cooked it real quick while keeping most of it raw on purpose, savored with spices. He offered it to Chamost along with the drink, and after they cheered for the drinks, he started eating the snack. He asked Chamost how it tastes. As for him, he was absolutely thrilled by the crunchiness. The Chamost also liked the meal, and it even ate it with a small stunt, as if to show it was really enjoying the meal. Both of them had a blast under the stars, before calling it a night. The next day, Gran was preparing breakfast, still a bit sleepy, and when he was done with the tea, he heard a knock on the door. He wondered who it could be this early in the morning, and to his surprise, it was the last guy he wanted to meet. It was the same guy with teleportation magic, and he said hi to our boy, since they are meeting after a long time. While Gran was surprised, the guy asked him if he wouldn't call his dear friend Abel into his house, after disappearing from the royal capital without saying a word to him. Gran coldly asked what he needed. Abel honestly replied he came to eat. Gran told him this wasn't a diner or something. Right then, Abel brought out something, saying, "It's bad if he can't eat," even after all the trouble he went through to get something that Gran really wanted. Gran saw it was just a bag, and he asked Abel what it was. Abel claimed it's what Gran had been looking for, and when he looked inside, Gran was astounded to see rice in this world, and he couldn't help but ask Abel where did he get this. But Abel wanted to have breakfast first before answering, and since Gran was in a really good mood after getting rice, he let Abel in, saying he just finished cooking breakfast and Abel could have as much as he liked. Abel went to the dining table, while Gran closed the door, feeling really impressed that Abel actually found rice in this world just because Gran asked for it. Over breakfast, Gran inquired Abel where he got the rice. Abel replied he picked them up inside a dungeon, and apparently there's a dungeon where people find unique and new food items in treasure chests. Abel didn't know what these white things were, so he appraised them and found them edible. Thus, he brought them to Gran. He added, "There are more treasures inside that dungeon, all of them being food-related, which sounds like a dreamlike dungeon for our boy." Abel added that on top of getting spices, there's also an ocean layer in the lower floors, which produces a lot of salt as well. Abel mentioned that because of the ocean, he couldn't travel further into the dungeon, since they needed to bring a boat for it inside the dungeon. Gran suggested can't Abel use spatial magic to bring a ship over, and while Abel admits it's not impossible, they would need to have a strong ship that can survive in an ocean full of monsters. He tried to recommend a plan to build a port inside the dungeon to the guild, but they won't listen, just because they think it's inefficient to spend so much on a dungeon filled with only food. Gran was angry, because food and ingredients are important after all, and the higher-ups should try to understand that one person could only eat so much in their lifetime, so they should always thrive for all tastes. Gran commented finding someone that is obsessed with food is hard. Then Gran asked him where the dungeon is located. Abel mentioned it's in the east, in the town of Orta Botanico, which is not too far. Abel suggested if Gran wants to go, he can just zip them over there with teleportation magic right away. But Gran doesn't want to, since he's still trying to get his life in order while he can be here. Abel felt damned, as he thought he would finally get to go to a dungeon with Gran, and Gran admitted he was indeed interested in going to this ingredient dungeon, but they will have to wait a while. Moreover, he asked Abel how much would he sell this rice to him for, and Abel was waiting exactly to hear that. He started complaining that while he was away from the capital for a bit, Gran disappeared behind his back without a word, which was awful. Gran could feel he was being scolded, while Abel continued that he never even got to ask Gran where he was going. But talking about that, Gran wanted to ask Abel how the hell did Abel know where he lives. Abel replied he actually found him through the spatial magic bag he got. And while he was making it for Gran, he secretly added the feature which will send the bag back to Gran if he ever lost it, and he tracked Gran with the same. Gran scolds Abel for adding stalker features to the bag like that so casually, but Abel remained firm, saying he never wanted to miss out on Gran's cooking no matter what. However, Abel weaseled his way in saying he was able to deliver rice to Gran thanks to that, which cleared the complaints from our protagonist, and he just asked how much for the rice exactly. Abel said he will just give it to him, since they are no use to Abel anyway, which made Gran think highly of Abel right away, until Abel mentioned he will give him the rice, and in turn, Abel will simply come over to eat at his house. And now that he has memorized Gran's house location, he can just come over anytime with teleportation magic. Gran, got it, it's just food in the end. And Abel even offered to bring rare or expensive ingredients from time to time. Gran asked him to bring some fish in that case since it's hard to get here in the mountains. Abel didn't mind it, and while they're at it, he decided to just stay over here, since he can teleport back anytime he gets work. He asked Gran to show him an empty room, he'll even pay proper rent for it. Thus, Abel also started living with Gran at his new house. And the next day, when Gran returned after exploring the forest as usual, he found the whole place looking completely different, as it seems Abel redecorated the place with some fancy furniture. Gran asked where the hell he even got this. Abel replied once he wiped out a bandit's hideout, so he took some things he liked there. And since Gran's house tends to get dirty, Abel applied a purification spell to keep it clean. Gran felt a bit frustrated by it, but decided to show his thanks with a meal. He stated he was going to cook rice now, so Abel needed to wait a while. Abel curiously watched Gran cook, while Gran simmered rice with water. Abel finds it interesting that Gran sometimes knows stuff he has never even heard of. He asks Gran where he learned it, to which Gran replies he learned it from a traveling merchant a long time ago. But when Abel asked what country he was from, Gran didn't have an answer and just said he never asked him. Gran can't exactly say he knew this stuff from his previous life, and either way, he focused on cooking the rice. He told Abel to wait for an hour for the dinner to be ready, after which he got immersed into the rice and thought of adding a bit of soy sauce as well, planning to cook Katsudon. Now, while the rice was cooking, he decided to get to making other dishes and brought out vegetables and some meat. He sliced onions, simmered meat, heated the oil, and used seaweed in place of kelp. After that, he chopped the meat and lightly sprinkled salt and pepper on it. He added some flour on the meat, then mixed it with some breadcrumbs and placed it into the oil. The sound and aroma of cooking meat made him want to eat it all the more, and rice seemed to be close to being cooked, so he lowered the heat and couldn't wait for the dinner to be ready. Once the meat was fried to a golden brown color, he drained the oil and cut the meat into 2 parts. He really wanted to take a bite, but he needed to stop himself until the rice was ready. In the pan, he then added soy sauce and onions and simmered them, and once they were done, he lastly added beaten egg and covered the pan and let it steam for 30 seconds. By this time, rice was completely cooked, and the sight of them was just tempting him to start eating right away. He planned on trying to craft a Japanese tableware next time, and Abel returned around the same time, asking if food was ready. Gran replied it's just finished, and Abel mentioned he went for a walk to kill some time, and apparently, he collected whatever he thought could be used as ingredients. Gran appreciated that and asked him to sit to eat. He prepared a whole bowl of Katsudon, and it was Abel's first time seeing this dish. Gran told him to give it a try, and Abel didn't need him to tell that. They dug right into the Katsudon, and the taste turned out to be exquisite, even though it was too hot. Abel forgot the hotness in front of the taste, and he mentioned he never tasted anything like this before. He thought he could get addicted to this taste, while Gran was already addicted. Thus, he thoroughly enjoyed the taste of Katsudon, since he really missed rice. They kept eating while enjoying every bite. Then Abel asked what seasoning did he use in this one. Gran replied he used a foreign seasoning called soy sauce, and he happened to have come across it in the market by pure luck and learned that more of it could be found in Eastern countries. Abel thought about it, and Gran thought it's time for him to try to reel Abel in to visit the East. Gran mentioned how he will miss this taste once the soy sauce is finished, wishing he could get more of that. Abel asked startled, just how much is left now, and exactly which part of the East they can find more of. Gran replied, it's east of Shirandor, and they might be able to find rice as well in the same country. And if he could get both rice and soy sauce regularly, He could make all kinds of things with them, like alcohol made from rice, and even miso made from beans. Abel asked if Gran could make similar dishes with other ingredients that are already available. Gran replied, some dishes can't be replaced with other ingredients, which pressured Abel to think of going to the east. Moreover, it's the town of Obero. He could get halfway with the teleportation spell, but to think he would have to travel for weeks even though afterwards, it was hard to decide. Gran tempted him even more, saying he could make much tastier dishes with more of these ingredients, and that was the last nail. And Abel promised to visit this Obero town, although he can't go right away. Gran successfully lured Abel right into his trap, but Abel asked him just in case Gran knows what Abel wants in return for bringing those items. Gran promised to pour his whole heart into making delicious food for him, although that's only because he'll be eating them together as well. With that, Gran was reassured that he'll soon get rice and soy thanks to his friend with cheat-level teleportation magic. Next day, Gran was dismantling the bunch of monster corpses, which despite his skills was taking too much time, and he thought it could take more than half a day. Apparently, these monsters were hunted by Abel earlier to cover for his rent and food. He hunted a rockbird, a black buffalo, and a green drake. Gran asked him how far he exactly went into the forest. Abel replied it's a little far in the eastern mountainside of the forest, and apparently he was only intending to hunt the black buffalo. But Drake showed up as well and attacked him first. Gran told him he kind of overdid it a bit, but Abel didn't think so. And in any case, he left the dismantling to Gran and left to do some work in the royal capital. Gran doesn't mind doing the dismantling, since it gets them more good meat, but he wishes Abel would hold back a bit. It got evening by the time he finished dismantling all the monsters, and thanks to his dismantling skills, he could make sure not to let anything go to waste, not even blood and organs, which could be used to make high-grade potions, the horns, claws, and scales, which could be used to make weapons, armors, and accessories. With all this, Gran could already think of various things he could craft from them. The next day, he went out into the forest to make a map of the locations he usually walked around, and thanks to his exploration skill, it was a child's play to draw an accurate map as he walked around. A map will improve exploration accuracy and make it easier to move around avoiding dangerous places thanks to mapping the paths he passes through. And since it's a large forest, Gran figured he could sell the map in the town as well to the Adventurers Guild. Eventually, while mapping the area, he reached the lake where he confronted the unicorn the other day, and it took him longer than before to reach here since he was making a man. He thought it's a perfect spot to use as a base for exploring, so he marked this place as a good rendezvous point, where anyone who got lost could come. After marking the known areas, he was eager to explore a little deeper into the forest. He wondered if there are more high-ranked monsters with more valuable materials, and he might probably find some rare medicinal herbs too. However, little did he know, casually wandering deeper would turn out to be a mistake. In the deeper areas, he ended up getting attacked out of nowhere by a root, which he barely managed to dodge just in time, then reflexively cut down the root attacking him. Gran was glad he managed to react in time because any late, and he could have been in trouble. The thing attacking him right now was a Trent, a tree-type monster, and it's hard to spot them in the forest due to their good camouflage. It's not uncommon for people to suddenly realize they have been surrounded by threats, and Gran has found himself in the same situation. He was lured by the abundance of herbs growing here, and before he knew it, he stumbled in here. Trent is a C-ranked monster, which is not that strong for Gran, but he's more troubled by their numbers. On top of that, they are mixed in with other small monsters, and just the idea of taking them all down despite the number disadvantage was nerve-wracking. So Gran made the decision to run away from here while he can. After running for a while, he found himself in an unknown area, and he can't tell where he is anymore. He decided to find a high spot to locate the river and go back with the flow. So he climbed trees and eventually spotted the river and also the town. Now, all he needs to do is just follow the river downstream. But then he noticed behind him there was a mass of trees, or probably a mountain, covered with a thick fog. It seemed to be a remote part of the forest where nobody seemed to have explored, which makes it all the more interesting. He got down from the tree, then he heard some sounds from the bush behind him, and the one who came out was a familiar monster. It was the Chamost from before, and Gran didn't know it lived this deep into the forest. Chamost offered to guide him back, and in turn, Gran promised to treat it to dinner later. After a while, he managed to return home safely, and there he saw Abel was also back from the royal capital. Abel told him that since he was free and waiting for Gran here, he took the liberty of improving the monster repellent fence to keep out high-level monsters as well. And he also put up an intruder ward, which will allow only Gran and Abel to get in unless the gate is left open. But then he noticed there's already a monster inside, which left him shocked since the monster repellent was a high-ranked one. Gran stated it must be because Chamost came here with him, and he told Abel about it, including the fact he had meals with this monster. Abel was surprised upon hearing it, Then Gran added that since he lives alone, it's pretty convenient to have a conversation partner sometimes. Abel commented he must be really lonely. Gran told him to shut up and went in, calling both Chamost and Abel in to wait while he made dinner. They agreed to Gran, although once he was gone, they didn't seem to be getting along with each other. Meanwhile, Gran was taking out ingredients for today's dinner, which will be a dish made with green drake's meat. He started out with vegetables, boiling the cabbage, peeling off its leaves and draining them, while inside chilling the onion and sautéing it in a pot with butter. In the meantime, he grinded the green drake's meat with a smile, recalling that meat of dragon species usually tastes rich. He then mixed in a little bit of boar meat and kneaded it well. Then, he added onions and sprinkled salt and pepper, then rolled the finished filling into suitable-sized balls and divided them. He was thinking of trying to make some burgers out of them later in time, but for now, he went with mixing all the vegetables in a pot and let them cook. Once it was ready, he asked Abel to carry the plates, while he brought out a table for them to eat. Abel asked why they were eating outside. Gran replied, "It's because Chamost is huge to fit in the house." He brought the pot once the table was set and told them for today's menu. They got stuffed cabbage. Abel asked if they'll be having just vegetables today. Gran mentioned the meat is wrapped in cabbage. The three of them started eating one by one, and Gran could tell he cooked something really tasty. Chamost, on the other hand, was already eating like there's no tomorrow. While Gran was mesmerized by the deep taste of this dish, the green drake meat turned out to be so good he didn't taste anything more punchy-tasting meat before. And maybe thanks to mixing boar meat, he was able to lighten up some of the heaviness in green drake's meat as well. The taste only got better with some alcohol, and he was curious about trying more dishes with green drake meat. Chamost signaled for seconds, and he served it right away, while Abel was thoroughly enjoying his first serving slowly. He can't admire this dish enough, and the juicy taste in the meat just spreads more and more in his mouth. Moreover, this vegetable soup they have mixed so well with overflowing meat juices, bringing out gentle sweetness and strong savoriness. He also asked for seconds, and it seems Chamost was soon going to ask for a third already. Gran told them to eat as much as they liked. He got plenty more, and if Gran's fine with it, Abel doesn't mind it either. The Chamost didn't hold back either. And while they're eating, Abel brought up some important talk. He mentioned that once he wraps up his current work, he's thinking of going to the eastern area of Shirandor, Oboro town. Gran was extremely happy to hear that, and Abel added that once he visited the town of Oboro, he could use teleportation anytime to come here and there, although the trip there would take up a lot of time. Gran was ready to pay proper price for the trip, but all Abel wanted from him was guaranteed food and lodging here. And if he found some good materials, he would make requests for Gran to make him some gear as well in the future. Gran doesn't mind that, although he doesn't promise making anything amazing since he only crafts out of hobby. Abel already knows what he makes is amazing, and Gran can even add multiple effects to the items. Now, Abel was excited for the trip to the east as well, and Gran was feeling great to be closer to getting regular rice, even though he'd have to rely on others.